so excited. There she is. Look at that. Look at that. It's so tiny. In one hand, it's about the size of my whole hand. Okay, so I am currently on my way to Tokyo, and I made it a personal goal for me to use only this camera. This is the Fujifilm XQ1, and it is a 10-year-old camera at this point, and I feel like it's very underrated. There's not a lot of content on it on YouTube, and through a Google search, there's not much info about it. It was released in 2013, and it has the X-Trans 2 sensor, and I'm very surprised that there's not a lot of content on this. So I kind of want to remedy that and make some content of my own about this. So once I get to Tokyo, I'm gonna shoot with this, and I didn't even bring my X100V this time around. So I'm really forcing myself to use only this and see what it's like. So about this camera, like I said, it's got the X-Trans 2 sensor, and it's actually a very compact point and shoot, and it's got zoom capabilities. So it goes from, let's see, 25 millimeters to 100 millimeters, and the f-stop is f1.8 to 4.9, which I think is really good. I really like the depth of field at the wide open 1.8, but obviously, much like any other camera, you pretty much have to stop it down a little bit to get the best quality, but I personally don't care about that. Anyway, yeah, this is a very compact point and shoot camera, and I got this for let's see, 16,000 yen, which is maybe the equivalent of, I don't know, $120. So definitely less than $150 you can get a very good camera. And maybe like prices may vary within your region and depending on condition. Like with full disclaimer, this camera is actually a little bit broken, just because on the D-pad here, the left and right buttons work maybe 10% of the time. You really have to press it multiple times for it to actually register that you're pressing the button, which to me isn't too bad, because left and right is just macro and flash settings, which I don't plan to use very often, but just heads up, with my personal copy of this camera, left and right doesn't work, and maybe that's why the price was a little bit lower. I don't know, like I said, you might have to check on your local markets, like online shops and stuff, to see how much this is worth. But like I said, I bought mine for about 160,000 yen, about $120 US. I plan on using the Agfa Chrome film recipe that I got from Fuji X Weekly. So I will put the link to that down below. And yeah, so anyway, next time I talk more about this camera, I'll be in Tokyo. So see you in a little bit. So I just finished eating lunch and stuff and shopping in Nakano Broadway area, and now I am in Akabane. But before coming here, I was able to take a couple photos and stuff just to test out the camera a little bit and the actual streets, and it's very easy to use. Very nice, especially with this film simulation that I have. I don't know if it's just the current settings of the simulation or what, but the highlights get really washed out. So I think that if I just want to do JPEGs, then I should expect to have really blown out highlights or really dark shadows and stuff. But I'm sure if I expose for the highlights instead and then edit the raws, brighten up the shadows afterwards, then it would have been like no problem. But since I'm trying to do pretty much straight out of camera stuff, then I'm just gonna expect washed out highlights. But so far, very easy to use camera, very easy. So there's some things that I have a hard time with. It's just because I'm not used to it. But the zoom, it's like the power zoom, where if you do the trigger thing for the zoom, it takes a little bit of while, like a little lag for it to actually register that you're trying to zoom, and then it zooms so slowly and it zooms out so slowly. But I don't know, that's to be expected, because I remember that kind of thing with really older digital cameras also. So that's just expected, I guess. So right now I'm just walking around Akabane, just trying to find interesting places to like take shots. But I don't know, I'm actually just enjoying walking around instead of trying to take photos. I've never actually been to this area, because I'm usually, like, if I go to Tokyo, I'm usually in the more of a like hotspot areas like Shinjuku, Shibuya, Ikebukuro, those areas. Not in Akabane, where that's a little bit more outside of the hotspot area. So yeah, it's still a very convenient and very nice place, but just less, oh man, so noisy, but less busy compared to those places. So I'm just trying to see what's interesting over here, and hopefully I can find something cool. And I guess if I find some cool photo spots in the meantime, then I'll try to take advantage of that, especially while it's still decent light just before golden hour, because I can tell the sun's starting to set. But anyway, let's just keep walking around and see what I can get. So I am back at the hotel room after a long day of shopping and just really walking around Shibuya with my wife. And I really didn't get to film too much just because I felt like I would be in the way of all the other people around me, and I just didn't want to do that. So I did, however, take a couple photos, and especially at the Starbucks Reserve Roastery, I found out that you can really take good silhouettes. Because remember yesterday I talked about how if you expose for the highlights, the shadows would be really, really dark. And I don't know why it didn't hit me, but silhouettes are very nice and very easy to do with this camera. So I tried to take a couple of silhouettes at Starbucks, and I think it turned out pretty well. And while walking around all day, I noticed another thing, and I feel like this is a very, very good, like, positive point for this camera. How it is actually very, since it is very tiny, it's very pocketable. It's very easy to keep in your coat pocket, whip it out, turn on, it's very fast, and then take a couple photos, then turn it back off, put it in your pocket. Very easy, and I feel like that's very, very convenient. So after, let's see, pretty much 2 days in Tokyo just using this camera, let me just wrap up everything of my final thoughts for this camera. So I feel like this camera is really good, especially for the price I bought it for. So the equivalent of about $120 USD. And for that price, I got a very convenient, very pocketable, very quick to use point and shoot camera. And it's got the X-Trans 2 sensor, which gives it that slightly older, like film, sort of film quality to it. So that's really nice also. If you want a very cheap, in my opinion, cheap, pocketable point and shoot camera, then definitely consider getting the XQ1. I don't think you would be disappointed with your purchase. So with that being said, I'm gonna go to bed now. I am extremely tired, and I will talk to you later. See ya.